Impressive.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Star Wars finally released the Mandalorian Grogu official trailer, so we'll break it all down. It's not the same as the leaked one from D23 or the ones they've been revealing a couple times over the past couple of years, because there's been a trailer for a long time. They just waited forever to release it because the movie isn't coming out till next spring. They were going to release this trailer last week, but as you probably all saw, very publicly, Disney stuck their foot in their mouth in probably the worst possible way. Hopefully they fix that this week. There's a bunch of stuff going on here. It's basically the future of Star Wars movies for the next couple of years, so if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. The whole idea with this is that it was originally meant to be The Mandalorian Season 4 for Disney+. Jon Favreau had written all the scripts, but then they had their big bottom out, like big fallow moment where they wanted to shift Star Wars back to a theatrical property, so they basically just turned The Mandalorian Season 4 into this Mandalorian Grogu movie. So it's basically Mandalorian Season 4. We still know very little about the actual main plot, but they do show a couple of the big plot points that we have heard about, like him at a Delphi base working for the New Republic. Sigourney Weaver is like the colonel that leads the base there. She's the leader of their base that we've seen before.
Very messy.
Since the end of The Mandalorian Season 3, Mando has basically been working for the Adelphi Rangers, the New Republic Rangers out here, hunting down bounties, getting paid for that, just doing regular bounty hunting work again, finally. Grogu, since undergoing the ceremony to become a formal Mandalorian, like actually become a Mandalorian, is just his apprentice going on missions with him, learning how to be a bounty hunter. You probably noticed Zeb from Star Wars Rebels in live action is back. He showed up previously during The Mandalorian Season 3. He's working for Adelphi Rangers too since the end of Star Wars Rebels. There's a pretty good chance we'll see him cameo during Ahsoka Season 2 right now, because that's like the last real big live action TV show that they're working on, but they're in the middle of working on that right now. It seems like one of the missions that Adelphi Rangers sends him on one of the bounties involves him breaking into this Imperial convoy here, like this big attack against all the AT-AT walkers where you see him blow a whole bunch of stuff up, like it seems like he destroys a lot of them. She chides him for a very, very messy job. And it seems like one of the other missions sends them after Jabba's son, Rada the Hutt, who's being played by Jeremy Allen Wilde, who you probably remember from The Bear. Just imagine what his voice is going to sound like when he's voicing Rada the Hutt here, who, since the events of Star Wars The Clone Wars, last time we've seen Rada the Hutt, has gotten super swole. So, like, that's the joke, is that you go from Jabba the Hutt, like this super overweight, super slothy, just super disgusting Hutt, like you would think of normal Hutts, to this giant swole Hutt fighting in a gladiator pit. You just have to imagine this is how he's dealt with all of his trauma from the events of the Clone Wars when he got captured and Ahsoka rescued him. You can also see Grogu working with the Anzellans now. Like, whatever they had going on between them, they put their differences aside, and it seems like the Anzellans are on Team Grogu now. Like, they actually enjoy him, because they get some of the only dialogue during this trailer, basically saying, good baby, because it's meant to be the big contrast from the last time they saw each other where they said bad baby, because he kept trying to hug him. Probably one of the other biggest things during the trailer here, one of the biggest surprises, is that he's flying another Razor Crest here to a Delphi base. Just seems like he found another model of this ship. There are a lot of questions about how he got the Razor Crest back. I don't think it's the exact same Razor Crest that got blown up during The Mandalorian Season 2, because it basically got incinerated. Not totally clear what they're investigating here, where you see Grogu looking through the little eyeglass here, just having a little bit of fun with Dad. Whatever it seems like they're doing here, they're busting into this Imperial base. It might have something to do with them taking out all these people in this room in the leaked trailer. When Grogu and the Anzellans are crawling through the little pipes here, not totally clear where they are or why they're doing this. Mando takes out all these dudes in this bar, not totally sure what planet this is on, but Grogu is here with him. There's another water-based creature from lore. He might seem familiar. Not totally sure why they're fighting him here or what's going on in this particular scene. They just want to show you some of the aliens they pulled out of the lore, like a whole bunch of deep cuts. I believe this is an updated, modern special effects version of an Amanaman, who is one of the characters featured inside Jabba's palace, like one of the aliens, so expect a lot of deep cuts like that in the movie. Notice that Grogu is learning, though, he can operate some of the controls properly on the Razor Crest. Like, it looks like he isn't just randomly pressing buttons for fun like he did when he first found him. It's a little too blurry, but it looks like he's being chased by a couple Imperial TIE fighters in this. My assumption is that all the Imperials that he meets are one of the factions of the Shadow Council. Like, they're just featuring more Shadow Council during this, because there's going to be a lot of that involved with the movie-related stuff that they're doing, building up to the big Thrawn movie that Dave Filoni is supposed to still be doing, which might just be one of the subsequent Mandalorian and Grogu movies now. Part of the idea with them shifting Star Wars back to being a theatrical type of property is that they want to do multiple Mandalorian and Grogu movies, like a trilogy, if the first one is successful. There's a little more footage of Grogu swimming, not sure what he's doing here. I think they just want to show the fact that they can make the puppet swim, like on a practical effects level. Like, look what we can do with the Grogu puppet here. Zeb taking out a whole bunch of Imperials inside one of their bases here. This is also probably them showing you how their effects have evolved since the last time we saw Zeb. Like, well, he was just sitting in a chair, he wasn't really doing much. Now we're actually doing this as a combination of practical special effects, along with a lot of CG tuned it up. We get another scene of Grogu sticking his head outside of a moving vehicle going super fast. This time he's just with the tiny little Anzellans. Really quick scene of Mando with his jetpack, and it looks like he's holding Grogu flying into the spaceship here in the air. This is just that scene of them in the gladiator pit with Rod of the Hutt, just seeing where he's at here. Not sure why they need to find him or what role he serves. Maybe it has something to do with them treating with the Hutts. Maybe they need the Hutts' help, and that's why they have to get his help. Mando and Grogu trying to deal with a couple giant mechs. Not really clear what's going on in this scene or what they're guarding here, this giant door behind them. It just looks like they find this ancient place that goes back before the events of the Clone Wars. This actually seems like it's meant to be a really, really old place. Post all your theories about what you actually think is behind this sealed door here that these droids are guarding. This actually seems like the alien that Rod of the Hutt is fighting in the actual gladiator pit. I think the idea is there's supposed to be a twist on Jabba's palace, with Jabba forcing other people to fight Rancors, and now Rod of the Hutt is fighting things in gladiator pits in that way. Not totally clear why Mando winds up fighting it. Maybe it's because he's trying to talk to Rod of the Hutt and winds up in the gladiator pit briefly. We get a brief "this is the way" during the actual trailer. This is just a longer scene of him on whatever mission takes him onto this AT-AT where he takes out all these Imperials and then goes back to Sigourney Weaver's character, who chides him for a very sloppy mission. There's the brief "forged" for IMAX, like as in made for IMAX, but forged because Mandalorian Beskar armor, and Grogu going after this rat-like creature. Seems like he just takes him out with one of those darts that he used during the Mandalorian Season 3 in the practice matches. Like, it's not an actual, really dangerous dart, it's just the practice darts that he still has with him. With a very, very impressed group of Anzellans like, good job, baby, you're actually getting better at this. There are a couple scenes similar to this where he actually does use the Force against some of the Imperials, like the very large regular-size Imperials. It would be weird if they wanted to have some really big moments with him in the movies. They're trying to push this back into the movies, and they don't show him using the Force in some really powerful way during the movie. Probably one of the biggest questions, though, is what is like the real big villain of the actual movie? It doesn't sound like it's going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. It sounds like it'll be something else. My early assumption when this was still meant to be The Mandalorian Season 4 is that they wanted to build towards a big Ahsoka crossover, so they were building up to a Grand Admiral Thrawn plot, so they would address at least some of what's going on with him on the Nightsister's planet, Dathomir. Part of the idea is at the end of Ahsoka Season 1, Grand Admiral Thrawn was going to start marshaling all the different Shadow Council factions to himself in rebuilding a more cohesive Imperial army. But part of the idea is that they're scattered across the galaxy, kind of doing their own thing with a loose alliance between them. What they might do is just have him go up against one of the factions or multiple factions, just because there's so many of them. They have still maintained that Thrawn is meant to be the final boss of this era of the timeline. Like they're doing the Thrawn trilogy or a version of that, but in live action, in the way that that probably should have been the original plan for the sequel trilogy. Generally, this trailer seems much shorter than the one that we got back at Star Wars Celebration or even last year. If there is any other Easter eggs or references that you think you spotted in the footage that I didn't talk about in the video, just add them in the comments below, and I'll put them in my future bonus videos as well too. We will probably get another big story trailer in the next couple of months that'll tell us what the actual story of the movie is, like more of a narrative type of trailer. Now, because of the way they've shifted around release dates, this is going to have sole reign over May next year, whereas Avengers Doomsday was previously going to release in the same month. So for a little while, Marvel and Star Wars seemed like they were going to cannibalize each other's audiences. It's going to be a bit of an issue, but now that they've delayed Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars both to December dates, that's not going to be an issue.
Interesting.
I'm not totally convinced that's why they delayed Avengers Doomsday. I think it was mostly because the script wasn't ready for that and they needed more time for special effects. Like there's way more time to work on Doomsday, but it just happened to also help them in that they're not going to cannibalize any of the audience from The Mandalorian Grogu. Star Wars has also been releasing footage from the Ryan Gosling Starfighter movie that they're in the middle of shooting right now, but that takes place in a completely different part of the timeline, different characters. It'll be 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker, so like New Jedi Order era. That movie is currently also unique in that it's not tied to any of their ongoing movie series that they're trying to set up. Like, it's not connected to Star Wars Episode 10. That's a completely different sequel trilogy that they're setting up to the sequel trilogy, a sequel to a sequel trilogy. They're probably going to wait a couple years before they reveal any more details about Star Wars Episode 10 till they're way more confident about it. Right now, most of their focus is on the Mandalorian and Grogu part of the timeline, but there might be a couple other stray movies during different parts of the timeline. I already did a video for the leaked Ahsoka Season 2 trailer from Star Wars Celebration. Click here for that, and click here for all my Mandalorian and Grogu and Star Wars videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.